The champagne glasses were arranged in perfect rows on the linen tablecloth, and I kept thinking about how easily they could fall. Everything felt too fragile, too perfect. My son had not looked at me once since I arrived. I stood near the entrance with my coat folded over my arm, watching him across the room. He was laughing, performing. His hands moved the way they always did when he wanted to impress someone. I had raised those hands, bandaged them when he fell off his bicycle, held them on the first day of kindergarten. I did not understand then that hands could forget where they came from. I had ironed my dress that morning in the small kitchen where the board wobbles if you press too hard. I remember standing there with the steam rising, thinking it would be enough to look neat, to blend in. The fabric was old but clean. The hem was straight. My shoes were the good ones I wore to funerals and job interviews. I thought that would be enough. The invitation had come in the mail 3 weeks earlier. Cream-colored paper. Heavy stock. My name written in someone else's handwriting. Careful letters. Professional. I did not recognize the restaurant name, but I knew it was the kind of place where people lowered their voices and checked their reflections in the windows before walking inside. Michael was celebrating his engagement. The card did not say I was invited warmly. It did not say they wanted me there. It just said the date and time. I had held that card for a long time before deciding to come. I took 2 buses to get there. The first one was crowded. I stood near the back holding the rail, my purse pressed against my side. The second bus ran late. I watched the minutes tick past on my phone, feeling my chest tighten. By the time I arrived, my coat was damp from the rain. Detroit in October feels like waiting. Everything gray and patient and cold. The kind of cold that gets into your bones and stays there. The restaurant had tall windows and soft lighting. Through the glass I could see people moving inside. Elegant people. People who belonged in places like this. I almost turned around. The room was full of people I had never seen before. Young men in dark suits that fit them perfectly. Women with straight hair and bracelets that caught the light when they lifted their wine glasses. Everyone seemed to know each other. They stood in small groups, laughing at things I could not hear. I stood near the door for a moment, looking for my daughter. Rebecca was supposed to be there. She had told me she would meet me inside. She had not said she would wait for me. Then I saw Michael. He was standing near the center of the room with a tall man in a navy suit. They were laughing about something. Michael's hand moved when he spoke, gesturing, emphasizing. The way it always did when he was performing. When he wanted someone to think he was clever. I had not seen him in 8 months. Not since the last time I called. And he let it go to voicemail. He looked older now. His hair was cut shorter. Sharp. Professional. He was wearing a watch I did not recognize. Something expensive that caught the light. He looked successful. He looked like someone I used to know. I thought about the apartment where I raised him. The kitchen table where he did his homework while I made dinner after my shift. The scholarship applications we filled out together. The way he used to hug me goodnight, even when he got too old for it. I did not know when he had stopped being that person. If you are still here, thank you for listening so patiently. My name is Dorothy. I am 67 now. Some memories do not come all at once. They return slowly, in pieces, usually when someone is kind enough to sit still and listen. If you would like to hear the rest of the stories when they find their way back to me, you can stay with me here. And before we go on, tell me something quietly. Did this moment make you feel more hurt? Or more angry? I walked toward him because I did not know what else to do. My shoes made a small sound on the floor. Polished wood. Expensive. A few people glanced at me as I passed, then looked away. Their eyes moved over me quickly, dismissing me, returning to their conversations. I reached the edge of where Michael was standing and waited. Just outside the circle. Close enough to be noticed. Far enough not to intrude. Michael saw me. His expression did not change, but something behind his eyes shifted. A flicker. Recognition followed by something else. Something I could not name, but felt in my stomach. That was the moment I should have left. The tall man turned. He had gray at his temples and glasses with thin frames. Distinguished. The kind of face that made you trust him before he said a word. He smiled the way people do when they are being polite, and do not yet understand the situation they are in. Michael's voice came out smooth, controlled. The voice he used for presentations and business meetings. "Richard, this is Dorothy," he said. He paused. Just a half second. Long enough for me to think he might say my mother. "Our family's failure." He said it the way you might say, "our family's accountant," or "our family's friend from years ago." Flat. Factual. Almost bored. The words just hung there in the air between us. Clean and sharp and impossible to take back. I felt the blood drain from my face. The tall man, Richard, did not laugh. He did not smile. His face went very still. His eyes moved from Michael to me, and I saw something change in them. Something careful and assessing. I felt my throat close. I told myself to breathe, to say something, to correct him or laugh it off or walk away with whatever dignity I had left. But I just stood there holding my purse against my stomach like it could protect me from something. Like it could make me invisible. When Michael was 7, he broke his arm falling out of a tree. I held him in the emergency room while they set the bone. He cried into my shoulder and said he was sorry for climbing so high. I told him I loved him. I told him I would always catch him when he fell. I did not know he would grow up to be the one who pushed me. Then I heard Rebecca's voice from somewhere behind me. "Oh my God. How embarrassing." Not loud. Just loud enough. The way you talk when you want people nearby to hear but want to pretend you are being discreet. She was standing near the bar with a glass of white wine in her hand. Her hair was pulled back tight. Sleek. Professional. She was wearing the kind of dress I had only seen in magazines. Black. Simple. Expensive. She looked at me the way you look at a stain you just noticed on something expensive. The way you look at a problem you did not expect and do not want to deal with. Michael's fiancée appeared next to him. A small blonde woman with perfect teeth and perfect posture. She touched his arm lightly and whispered something I could not hear. Michael nodded slightly. He still had not looked directly at me. His eyes were somewhere over my shoulder, focused on nothing. Richard, the boss, watched each person carefully. His eyes moved from Michael to Rebecca to me, then back again. He did not speak. The silence stretched out long and uncomfortable. I could hear the music playing somewhere in the background. Something instrumental and soft. Piano maybe. The clink of glasses. Quiet laughter from across the room. Normal sounds in a room where I did not belong. I thought about leaving. Just turning around and walking back through that door, and finding the bus stop in the rain. Going home to my small apartment, and pretending this night had never happened. But my legs felt heavy. My hands were shaking. My purse strap was cutting into my shoulder. I could not make my body move. Richard finally spoke. His voice was quiet, careful, like he was handling something fragile. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Dorothy." He extended his hand. I stared at it for a moment. Clean. Strong. A simple wedding band. No expensive watch. Just a man offering a handshake to someone everyone else in the room wanted to disappear. I shook it. His grip was firm but not aggressive. He held my hand a moment longer than necessary, and I saw something in his face I could not name. Not pity. Not anger. Something else. Something that felt like seeing. Michael's jaw tightened. He looked at Richard with an expression I recognized from when he was younger. The look he got when things were not going the way he had planned. When his control was slipping. "Richard, we should probably," Michael started. "I would like to hear more about Dorothy," Richard interrupted. His tone was still polite, but there was steel underneath. The kind of voice that expected to be listened to. Not because it was loud but because it was certain. Perhaps we could sit down? No one moved. Rebecca made a small noise. Half laugh, half exhale. She set her wine glass down too hard on a nearby table. The sound made several people look over. I need to find the restroom, she said to no one in particular. She walked away quickly, her heels clicking against the floor. Sharp. Precise. Each step sounding like an accusation. Richard gestured toward a small table near the window. 2 chairs. Empty. Waiting. He looked at me and waited. I nodded. I did not trust my voice yet. I was afraid if I spoke, something would break. Something I would not be able to put back together. We sat down. Michael stayed where he was, standing with his fiancée. Both of them watching us like we were performers in a play they had not agreed to attend. The room continued around us. People talking and laughing and drinking. But at our small table by the window, everything felt very quiet. I could see my reflection in the glass. An old woman in a faded dress. Out of place. Richard folded his hands on the table. He did not ask me to explain. He did not ask about Michael. He did not try to make small talk or fill the silence with empty words. He just sat there, waiting for me to be ready. I looked out the window. The rain was coming down harder now. The streetlights made the wet pavement shine. I could see people hurrying past with umbrellas. Going somewhere warm. Going home. I did not know what to say. I raised them by myself. I said finally. My voice came out rough. Unfamiliar. Like I had not used it in a long time. Their father left when Rebecca was 4. Michael was 6. Richard nodded slowly. He did not interrupt. He did not offer sympathy. He just listened. I worked at the hospital. I continued. Cleaning. Night shift mostly. I did that for 23 years. 23 years of mopping floors and emptying trash and wiping down surfaces. 23 years of coming home when the sun was rising and sleeping while my children were at school. 23 years of missing school plays and parent conferences because someone had to pay the rent. I paused. I could feel Michael's eyes on us from across the room. Watching. Waiting to see what I would say. I wanted them to go to college, I said. I saved what I could. It was not much. But I thought it would help. I remembered the envelope I kept in my dresser drawer. Cash tucked away from every paycheck. Sometimes just $10. Sometimes 20. Adding up slowly over years. Richard leaned forward slightly. Listening. Really listening. The way people rarely do. Michael got into a good school. Business program. Full scholarship would not cover everything. He needed more than I had saved. I took out loans. Co-signed. He said he would pay me back after he graduated. After he got his job. The papers had been confusing. Full of terms I did not understand. But Michael had explained it to me. Said it was an investment. Said it would all work out. I stopped talking. The words felt too heavy. Too shameful somehow. And did he? Richard asked quietly. I shook my head. He got his job. Good salary. Better than I ever made in my life. He moved to a new apartment. Bought a car. Nice one. German. He stopped answering my calls. Richard's expression did not change, but I saw his hand tighten slightly on the table. Just a small movement. Barely noticeable. Rebecca went to school too, I said. Smaller place. State University. She finished. Got work in marketing. She calls sometimes. On holidays. She sends cards. Generic cards. The kind you buy in packs of 10. My name written quickly. No message inside except, Happy Birthday or Merry Christmas and her signature. I looked down at my hands. The skin was dry and cracked from years of washing and cleaning. I had put lotion on that morning, but it had worn off. My knuckles were swollen. Arthritis starting. The doctor said it would get worse. I still live in the same apartment, I said. The one where I raised them. 2 bedrooms. The rent went up twice since then. I work part-time now at a grocery store. Stocking shelves. My back is not what it used to be. I did not tell him about the nights when I could not sleep because my back hurt too much, or the bills I had to choose between, or the loans that were still not paid off, the interest adding up month after month. Richard was very quiet. I am proud of them, I said, and I meant it. That was the strange part. Even now, even after tonight, I was still proud. They both did well. They both made something of themselves. I just thought. My voice broke. I stopped talking. The tears were coming and I could not stop them. I pressed my lips together hard, trying to hold everything in, trying not to fall apart in this beautiful restaurant in front of all these people who already thought I did not belong. Richard reached across the table and handed me a napkin. Cloth. Heavy. Monogrammed. I took it but did not use it. I just held it in my hand, twisting it between my fingers. I thought they would remember, I finished. The words came out as barely a whisper. We sat in silence for a long moment. I could hear someone laughing at the bar. The clink of glasses. The soft music still playing. All of it sounding very far away. Richard stood up slowly. He looked at me with something that might have been respect, or recognition, or something else I did not have a name for. "Excuse me for one moment," he said. His voice was gentle, almost apologetic. He walked back across the room to where Michael was standing. I watched them. Richard said something. I could not hear the words, but I saw Michael's face change. The performance dropping away. Something real showing through. Fear maybe. Or anger. Michael shook his head. Said something back. His hands moved defensively. Richard's voice stayed low, but I could see the way he held himself. Very straight. Very still. The kind of stillness that commanded attention. Michael's fiancée stepped back slightly. She looked confused. Uncomfortable. Like she was seeing something she had not expected. Rebecca had returned from the restroom. She stood at the edge of the group, watching. Her face unreadable. Richard said something else. Longer this time. Michael's face went red. The color climbing up his neck. He started to respond, his mouth opening, but Richard held up one hand. Not aggressive. Not threatening. Just final. Whatever he said, Michael stopped talking. Then Richard walked back to our table. He sat down again. His movements were calm. Deliberate. "Dorothy," he said carefully, "I want you to know that Michael works for me. He is good at his job. Very good, actually." He paused. "But character matters more than competence." I did not understand what he was trying to tell me. "I have a mother too," he continued. "She is 81. She lives alone in Cleveland. I call her every Sunday. Without fail." He looked at me directly. His eyes steady. "She cleaned houses for 30 years to put me and my sister through school. I know what that costs. I know what that sacrifice means." My chest felt tight. I could not breathe right. "I just told Michael that he has until Monday to decide what kind of man he wants to be," Richard said. "The kind who honors his debts and his mother, or the kind who introduces her as a failure at parties." I stared at him, not understanding, not believing what I was hearing. I also told him that if he chooses the second option, he should start looking for a new job. The room suddenly felt too warm, too bright, the sounds too loud. "You did not have to do that," I whispered. My voice was shaking. "Yes," Richard said simply. "I did." He stood up again. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. White. Simple. He set it on the table in front of me. If you need anything, he said, or if they do not make this right, you call me. I picked up the card. My hands were still shaking. The letters blurred. Richard nodded once, then walked toward the door. He did not say goodbye to Michael. He did not say goodbye to anyone. He just left. The door closed behind him with a soft sound. I sat at the table for a long time after that. The party continued around me. People ate small plates of food from silver trays. They toasted the engagement. They talked about vacation plans and work projects and things I did not understand. Their voices blended together into white noise. Michael did not come over to the table. Rebecca did not come over either. I thought about leaving, about standing up and walking out, and taking the bus home, and pretending this night had never happened. But something kept me in that chair. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe hope. Maybe just exhaustion. I was too tired to move. The champagne glasses stayed perfectly arranged on the white tablecloth. None of them fell. About an hour later, Michael appeared at the table. He sat down in the chair Richard had been sitting in. He did not look at me. He looked at his hands. The same hands I used to hold. The same hands I taught to tie shoelaces and hold a pencil. That was not supposed to happen like that, he said. His voice was flat, empty of emotion. I waited. I did not think you would actually come, he said. The words hung there. You invited me, I said quietly. Rebecca addressed the envelopes, he said. I told her not to send you one. The words landed like stones. Heavy. Final. Why? I asked. He finally looked at me. His eyes were the same eyes I used to see across the breakfast table. The same eyes that used to watch cartoons on Saturday mornings. The same eyes that used to look at me like I hung the moon. But there was something else in them now. Something hard and defensive. Because you embarrass me, he said. Each word was precise. Calculated. Like he had practiced saying them. The way you talk. The way you dress. The fact that you work at a grocery store. He paused. My colleagues do not have mothers like you, he continued. Their mothers have careers. They have education. They know how to act in places like this. I felt something crack inside my chest. Something that had been holding me together. I gave you everything I had, I said. I did not ask you to, he shot back. His voice was sharp now. Defensive. I did not ask you to take out those loans. I did not ask you to work nights. You made those choices. To give you a chance, I said. And I took it, he said. I built something. I made something of myself. That is not your accomplishment. It is mine. We stared at each other across the small table. Mother and son. Strangers. I thought about all the nights I came home exhausted and checked his homework. All the times I went without so he could have. All the pride I felt when he walked across the stage and got his diploma. None of it mattered to him. The loans, I said. You promised. I will pay them, he interrupted. Richard made that very clear. His jaw was tight. Angry. Not because it is right. I asked. Because your boss told you to? He did not answer. Rebecca appeared behind him. She had her coat on. Ready to leave. We should go. She said to Michael. This is your engagement party. You should be with Amanda. Michael stood up. He adjusted his jacket. Smoothed it down. I will have my lawyer contact you about the loan payments, he said. We will work out a schedule. Then he walked away. Rebecca looked down at me. Her face was impossible to read. Blank. Like she had practiced not feeling anything. You should not have come, she said. You knew it would be like this. No, I said quietly. I hoped it would not be. She left without saying anything else. I sat at that table until the party ended. I watched them cut the cake. 3 tiers. White frosting. Flowers made of sugar. I watched them take photographs. Michael and Amanda smiling. Rebecca in the background, perfect and composed. I watched my children laugh and talk and celebrate with people who would never know my name. People who would never know what it cost to get them here. When the restaurant staff started clearing tables, I finally stood up. My coat was still damp. I folded Richard's business card carefully and put it in my purse. The buses had stopped running by then. It was too late. Too dark. I walked to a place I knew would still be open. A diner on the corner where the coffee was always hot, and they did not mind if you sat for a while. The kind of place people like me could afford. I ordered tea and sat in a booth by the window, watching the rain. I thought about Richard's mother in Cleveland, 81 years old and living alone. I wondered if she knew what her son had done tonight. I wondered if she was proud that I thought about my own mother. She had been gone for 12 years now. She used to say that children break your heart in ways you cannot predict. That you raise them to leave you, and then you spend the rest of your life figuring out how to be okay with that. I had not understood what she meant back then. I understood now. The tea cooled in front of me. The waitress refilled my cup without asking. She was an older woman. Tired eyes. Kind hands. The diner was nearly empty. Just me and a couple of truck drivers at the counter, and a young woman studying something on her laptop in the far corner. Safe people. Quiet people. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text message from a number I did not recognize. "This is Richard. I wanted to make sure you got home safely." I stared at the message for a long time. The words blurred. I wiped my eyes. Then I typed back slowly. "I am fine. Thank you for what you did tonight." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. I waited. "My mother would have liked you." I closed my eyes. The tears came finally. Quiet and slow. Not angry tears. Not bitter tears. Just sad ones. The waitress brought me more napkins without saying anything. She squeezed my shoulder once as she walked past. I took the first bus home in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up. Detroit looked different in the early light. Softer somehow. Less gray. The streets were empty and clean. When I got back to my apartment, I made coffee and sat at the small kitchen table where the board wobbles. I looked at Richard's business card again. I did not call the number. I just kept it there on the table where I could see it. Proof that someone had seen me. Really seen me. 3 days later, an envelope came in the mail. Inside was a check from Michael. The first payment toward the loans. The amount was correct. Exact. There was no note. Rebecca called the following week. She did not apologize. She just asked if I had received the check. I said yes. She said good and hung up. I deposited the check. I paid my rent. I bought groceries. I went to work. But something had changed. Not with them. With me. I stopped waiting for the phone to ring. I stopped checking the mail for birthday cards or holiday invitations. I stopped making excuses for why they were too busy to visit. I let them go. I started going to a small church near my apartment on Sunday mornings. Not because I was particularly religious. Just because I wanted to be around people who said hello, who remembered my name, who asked how I was doing and waited for the answer. I started having coffee with one of the other women who worked at the grocery store. Her name was Linda. She had 3 grown sons who never called either. We did not talk about it much. We just sat together on our breaks and shared the silence. The checks from Michael came every month. Always the same amount. Never late. Never with a note. Rebecca sent a card at Christmas. Generic. Pre-printed message. Her signature at the bottom. I sent cards back. I wrote small messages inside. I hope you are well. I am proud of you. I love you. I do not know if they read them. On my birthday that year, a package arrived. It was from Richard's office. Inside was a beautiful scarf. Deep blue with a pattern of small silver threads running through it. Like stars. The note said, "For someone who deserves to be seen. Richard." I wore it to church the following Sunday. Linda said it looked lovely. I never told Michael or Rebecca about the scarf. It felt like something that belonged only to me. Something they could not take away or diminish. 2 years have passed since that engagement party. Michael got married. I was not invited to the wedding. Rebecca sent me a photo. Michael and his wife on the steps of some building I did not recognize. They looked happy. The loan payments continued. Every month. Like clockwork. I think about that night sometimes. The champagne glasses on the white tablecloth. How easily they could have fallen. How none of them did. I think about Richard's face when Michael called me a failure. The way he went very still. The way he listened when I told him my story. The way he saw me. I think about my children. About the moment they stopped seeing me as their mother and started seeing me as something else. Something embarrassing. Something to hide. I do not hate them. That is the strange part. I thought I would. But I do not. I am sad. I am disappointed. But I do not hate them. Maybe that is what it means to be a mother. To love people who do not love you back the way you need them to. I still live in the same apartment. I still work at the grocery store. My back still hurts at the end of long shifts. But I have Linda now. And the church. And the small quiet moments that belong only to me. And I have the scarf. Folded carefully in my drawer. Waiting for the next Sunday. Sometimes I take out Richard's business card and look at it. I have never called the number. But knowing it is there feels like something solid. Like proof. Not as a failure. Not as an embarrassment. Just as a mother who did her best with what she had. The champagne glasses never fell that night. They stayed perfectly arranged on the white tablecloth. Clean and untouched and expensive. But I did. And someone was kind enough to help me stand back up.